Good morning. Please continue enjoying breakfast while we start with the program. My name is Scott McCaffrey from the Sun Gazette. Welcome. And before we begin, just to give you a little bit of history, it was a very rainy, windy, late January morning at the Washington Golf and Country Club in 2001 when the Chamber of Commerce first hosted the State of the County. Jay Fizzette will remember this because you were the board chair that year. And in all these years since, and with the Leadership Arlington edition, this has become one of the main events in Arlington County. Let me very quickly introduce Chairman Walter Tejada. Chairman Tejada was before he was first elected, let me just say, embodies, I think, the way civic activism in Arlington works. He's told this story before, but nonetheless it's worth noting. He got concerned about the availability of soccer fields. Am I right, Walter? And instead of getting mad, he got involved. He got himself appointed to a county commission, and from there he moved up the ranks, got involved, paid attention, and in 2003 he was elected in a special election to the county board. He won election to 4-year terms in 2003, 2007, and 2011. This is his second time, as board chairman, so it's the second time around with regard to this. So please join me in welcoming Chairman Walter Tejada.
Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate that introduction. Good morning, everyone. Or in Arlington, we like to say buenos dias also, so buenos dias. All right. Let me say that Scott mentioned some of the things that I was going to touch on this morning, but it's good. It's good. It's always, especially some of the good things that about Arlington, and so I'll be mentioning a little bit as well. So this morning, what I'd like to do is first thank everyone connected with the chamber. Your leadership is very critical for the health of our community, and I want to thank Rich Dowd for his work as he continues to lead the chamber, and of course David DeCamp as the chair this year, and everybody else who it's making sure the chamber continues to move forward. You do so many events for our community, and I have the privilege to attend many of those, and so it's good to be here this morning and try to share a few things that are going on in our community, tell you about some of the priorities that I'm working and putting particular emphasis on, and then let you know what the state of the county is today, and also share with you that as a community, we have a tradition of being resilient, and I'll expand on that. And I will also touch on how the business sector is critical to the success of our community. And I also want to talk about how we're looking forward, how we are going to move forward together in our community. And so when I'll end where we started and go over just a few quick things to recap. You know, I've always been wanting to say this. So my fellow Arlingtonians and those of you who work in Arlington County, the state of the county is strong. And we have so many things to be thankful here in Arlington. In many ways, we are a great community. Our public schools are among the best in the nation, usually rank in the top 1% in the country. Our property values remain strong, and our commercial and retail sectors are healthy. As Scott mentioned, our unemployment is 3.2%, the lowest in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we have had the lowest rate for so many years now. And when you compare that to the nation, which is over 7%, I think it's about 7.4 something, 7.5, something like that. That's a very significant comparison. On the job area, nearly 230,000 jobs in Arlington are projected to add 80,000 more by 2040. So we have a lot of jobs. We are the job center already, and more jobs are forecasted right here in our community. Although things could be difficult in the short term due to the base relocation and closure, sequestration, and slow recovery economy. Our housing market, median sales price are up 2% from last year, but sales are up 20%, but listings are down almost 40%, resulting in a highly competitive market for buyers. But our properties continue to be strong. We have situations in Arlington in some residential neighborhoods where people are getting a knock on their door even though they're not selling their homes, and people inquiring if they are willing to sell their houses. I mean, that's how valuable things are. And I know that sometimes that would make some people uncomfortable. I wouldn't want someone doing that because I don't intend to move. I'm here to stay. But that's the kind of coveted area that we have. We have a very attractive area. People want to come and live here in our community. Now, another important angle, and I know that you follow this closely in the business community, we have once again earned a AAA bond rating from all three Wall Street bond rating agencies. And now this is important to put it into context because there are about over 3,000 counties around the country. And then you have all the local governments, cities, towns, and some authorities. And when you look at that, then we then are part of an exclusive club. Only 39 of these jurisdictions have earned the AAA rating. So it's important to emphasize this is not a given. This isn't because someone likes us or they feel good about us. We have earned it, and you, the business community, have played a significant role as county government has, and others who work to make that community strong. So this is something that we have earned. Our sound fiscal management practices and outstanding track record are contributing factors for that rating. Moody's, to give you an example, praises Arlington for carefully managed financial operations with sound reserves and economic vitality. That is pretty good. And in addition to that, there's something we don't have to do, but we do. We have a self-imposed debt limit. And that is also part of what we want to be consistent. So this rating enables Arlington to borrow at the lowest possible rates. Just last month, we sold bonds at 2.5%, and in the process saved $5 million by refunding prior debt and at lower rates. So we are continue to be ranked very highly, very sound, because again, our fiscal management practices and our sound financial practices. We are a safe community. Our crime rate continues to be low, and in fact has dropped for a fourth consecutive year and is the lowest. I saw this in the past 6 years, but you know what? It is the lowest it's been since 1964. We are a safe community. We're not immune. We have some crime. You know, we have car thefts and so, especially in the Pentagon City area. So, you know, make sure you lock your car when you're around this area so that, you know, some things happen. But we don't have a high crime rate. So it is significantly lower, in fact, than the national average, 65% lower for major crimes. So we continue to be one of the best places to live in the United States. Arlington was named one of America's 50 best cities by Bloomberg Business Week, but also named top 30 best place to live by CNN Money. But you know, just in 2011, Bloomberg Finance and Business Week named us one of the 2 best places to live in America. Actually, we're ranked number 2 city, best city to live in America. You know what? We're a county, but they want to give us an award recognized as the best place to live. We'll take it. So we are an attractive community. And also, we are part of a very strong region in the Washington metro area. In a recent Wall Street Journal story reported on the resilience of our national capital region, our local economy in our area has grown faster than the nation as a whole. Stephen Fuller, who many of you are familiar with, from George Mason University, is projecting that our region will continue growing faster than the nation through at least 2017. Our regional economy is $450 billion. That's the 4th largest region in our United States. We are also a resilient community. By any number of measures, we are indeed a successful community. I just touched on some of those elements. There are others as well. But in so many important ways, we continue to be determined to be successful. Over our history, we have had many challenges. Each time, we have risen to the challenge and have emerged stronger than ever. In the 1960s, we had suburban flight. Lots of people left. In the 1980s, there was a very strong economic downturn that we have to recover from. In the 1990s, we lost the Patent and Trademark Office. In 2001, of course, September 11 happened, and we came together as a community, and we were fortunate to have so many wonderful first responders who kept us moving forward. In the 2000s, the base relocation and closure actions, the single largest closure of jobs from any single community in the United States. If you were to take all the bases that are being closed around the country and you compare it to us, we're not a base because we're not expanded to left, right, but we have high-rises where we have offices in. We are, in fact, the hardest hit. But each time, we have reinvented ourselves to move forward. This is one of the most important keys to our success as a community. We don't give up. We work together. Yes, we are successful, and yes, it is time to reinvent ourselves once again. The people in this room, you, us, the leaders of our business community, you are critically important to our reinvention, to our resilience. An important strategy of our reinvention is our focus on science and technology. Now, you may have heard at the end of last week the bad news. The General Services Administration announced it is moving the National Science Foundation to Alexandria. Of course, we are profoundly disappointed, but I believe the last word has not been written on this. We still believe Arlington is the best home for the National Science Foundation, and we hope that it would stay. We will work diligently to see if we can make that happen. But you know what? The thing is, it just doesn't make sense. Undoing a science cluster that the federal government itself has spent 2 decades and quite a lot of taxpayer money building. Many of you have collaborated in that effort. The General Services Administration has invested heavily for years in building the Science and Technology Center in Boston. Just in 2008, GSA stated that DARPA needs to stay in Boston because of this science center. They called it mission critical. So, why would they want to damage that now? Oversight and transparency are two reasons that I think we need to look at more now on this, how this is unfolding. How much are Alexandria taxpayers paying for this deal? We really don't know, but we'll try to find out. We need more transparency on how this has evolved. So where is the oversight? We believe this decision needs closer scrutiny. This may be another bad leasing decision by GSA. This looks to us as a giveaway. Staying in place, we believe it is in fact the most economically successful option for the National Science Foundation. We really don't understand how a new building, having to construct a new building, constructing from scratch and relocating there could be cheaper than staying in place. If they just sign a 5-year deal, it seems to us that in fact the staying in place is indeed the best option. So we hope that they will make the right decision by staying in Boston. Now, Boston is seen as a science and technology hub in the National Capital Region, and Arlington has made a significant investment to create that hub. We have numerous federal agencies, including the National Science Foundation, DARPA, ONR. They're located in Arlington because of their collaborative work with one another and a desire to be nearby, as did top research universities and numerous private businesses that in turn also do businesses with those agencies. Now that hub has grown, adding numerous other research organizations, as well as educational institutions such as Virginia Tech, and many private sector companies. So creating a synergistic hub of science and technology that we enjoy today and want to continue to see built and nourished. This hub was reaffirmed by the decision to keep these agencies co-located in Boston during the last BRAC round in 2005. That, it was a bipartisan effort with then Governor Mark Warner, a Democrat, and then U.S. Senator John Warner working with many of us together, trying to do our best to deal with this issue. A lot of time and effort was spent to do that. In addition, under Tim Kaine's leadership, then governor, the Commonwealth of Virginia also affirmed the value of the Science and Technology Hub with the funding of the new DARPA headquarters, as well as the Virginia Tech Research Center. All of this enables partnerships, mentoring opportunities, and synergies between the public and private sectors, as well as our universities. Now, the business sector, as I mentioned, is vital to the success of our community. We are a great community because of your commitment to Arlington. With your continued support, Arlington strategies have yielded substantial economic, transportation, and environmental benefits. This allows continued growth with less reliance on auto trips and more use of transit and other travel options. This commitment to transit-oriented development is a key factor in our success. And the business community is supporting this strategy in a huge way. Not just one project or program, not a short-term commitment. Staying competitive and sustainable requires ongoing investment and infrastructure. Now, our investments are supported by our Transportation Capital Fund. This is a good time to also thank the business sector for helping us get to this point to where we were able to have the commercial transportation tax and to the Transportation Capital Fund. This provides necessary funding to make investments in critical infrastructure and to make investments that are necessary to grow our economy. We are putting these dollars to work for our community. Since the inception of the Transportation Capital Fund, we have leveraged about $37 million in combined state and federal dollars, investing in projects like the Rosslyn Metro Rail Station access improvements, the highest ridership station in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the ridership there continues to grow. Crystal City multimodal improvements, the street and intersection improvements that will improve the street network and support development. The Pentagon City multimodal project, the Hay Street corridor in front is the front doors to Arlington's largest concentration of retail and is a major visitor destination. Perhaps some of you drove by there today on the way over here to this hotel. This project will improve streets and intersections to accommodate existing and future user demands. Now, you may have read on governing.com recently that nearly 77% of Arlington's workforce comes from outside the county. That's close to 150,000 people that are commuting every day by bus, rail, car, or by bicycle. And we have numbers now that the bicycle commuters are in the thousands. With numbers like this, we cannot afford not to make these targeted investments. Our competitive advantage is moving more people efficiently and maximizing quality travel options. According to the 2012 Arlington Business Leaders Survey, business leaders cited positive effects of Arlington's transportation system on their businesses. Customers' ability to reach businesses, 70%. Ability to recruit and retain employees, 70% and 64% respectively. Access to a broad workforce, 68%. And improving employee morale and productivity, 63 and 61% respectively. And we also have some good news on the business front. Many new employers have made Arlington their home in the last year, including Alliant Tech Systems, Inc., or ATK. The headquarters are not here. And for those of you who are familiar with it, you know that this is a Fortune 500 company. We also have Evolent Health, the Center for Naval Analysis, CNA, Uber offices, the largest co-working location in Northern Virginia with 48 startups. But we're also helping small businesses, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that we're doing. We are improving customer service. Small businesses have complained for some time to us about our ordinances. So we want to say to you, we heard you. In the last year, we have adopted a series of amendments to the zoning ordinance to help businesses. We clarify, for example, the term outdoor cafe. How many people like to sit out in an outdoor cafe in Arlington, right? It's part of our culture. We are allowing our private outdoor cafes to stay open year-round and to play televisions and radios in these outdoor areas. If the weather's nice, it's the middle of January, but hey, we had a 75-degree weather day, why not? We have reformatted the zoning ordinance to make it easier for developers to understand the regulations and for residents to know what type of development is allowed in their neighborhood. Clear standards and regulations for signs to make it easier for all to understand and offer more flexibility in the types of signs and their placements. So this is another opportunity also to thank you, the business community, and specifically business owners and representatives who took time to give us feedback and help us develop these improvements. It took a lot of work, and I know we asked a lot of questions. We asked a lot of you to attend meetings and share your thoughts, but this was very important. We appreciate your taking time to doing that. So we're going to do more work with the zoning ordinance to update our code so that it is consistent with Virginia code and other requirements. This is simply a continuation of our effort to making it easier for the public to use and to understand. We may be familiar with BizLaunch. It's also helping small businesses and entrepreneurs. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but they are 10 years young now. They're celebrating their 10-year of service. A program is aimed to assist small businesses and entrepreneurs. Just last year, they assisted over 4,000 entrepreneurs and held nearly 40 events, webinars, and workshops. I couldn't believe that when I saw those numbers. They have also introduced the Entrepreneur in Residence programs, the EIR, the first to be offered by a local government. Arlington has become a hotbed of high-growth technology companies, and some of them are the opening of Uber's offices, as well as hosting several large entrepreneurial events, including Day of Fosterly, DC Week, and Venture Camp. So we have continued to work building Arlington. We are moving forward together, as I said at the beginning of the year, juntos hacia adelante, moving forward together. So, looking forward, one of the worst things that can happen for anything is to be complacent. So, we should shake off that bug and will not become complacent. As our nation continues to recover from the worst recession in generations, Arlington faces some economic uncertainty. It is simply time to once again reinvent ourselves. Office vacancies are rising as the federal government makes cutbacks and the base realignment and closures process is fully implemented. Our vacancy rates are 17% and continue to climb. We know that we will continue to experience the BRAC effect, some of the vacancies for another 3 to 5 years. We have other challenges as well. The federal government is simply unpredictable at best. And we cannot expect the federal government, certainly not the General Services Administration, to return to normal anytime soon. Who knows what normal is these days? And low rate caps will continue to play Arlington landlords. We have a soft private market. Companies are huddling and are putting more employees in one space, in less space. We have increased competition from more affordably priced submarkets in DC, NoMa, and Capitol Riverfront. The Silver Line to Tysons will open more competitive competition with Metro Access. And we have difficulty to remain competitive with neighboring jurisdictions offering incentives, luring tenants from Arlington. It seems that we are being pit one against another these days by the GSA and federal government. So yes, the seas are rough, but there are also hopeful signs on the horizon. In Arlington, as was mentioned a little bit by Scott, we have a rare species of birds that are not seen much in other parts of the country. It is called the crane. Other jurisdictions, some not far away from Arlington, wish they had a few of them. You only need to move around a little bit around Arlington, you'll probably come across one of those cranes. In fact, as we drive around the county, we see plenty of new construction. 1.6 million square feet of commercial space is under construction as we speak. Over 3,200 residential units are under construction, 183 hotel units were just delivered. And in the pipeline, an additional 8.6 million square feet of commercial space, over 4,600 residential units, and 1,100 hotel units. We see development activity in Clarendon, in Ballston, in Courthouse, Pentagon City, Roslyn, and Crystal City. And speaking of Crystal City, Boeing Regional Headquarters is underway right there just adjacent to Longbridge Park. And for those of you who may not for some reason have visited Longbridge Park, this is a good time to encourage you to do that. You can see how that building is going up with that beautiful park right in front of them. And then, and again, that's the Eastern Regional Headquarters of Boeing going right up there. So we continue to plan for the future, to invest, to stay competitive, and to ensure that our community remains diverse, sustainable, and successful. This is all part of our reinvention strategy. And what better example than the Columbia Pike area? Columbia Pike is where this is all coming together. Our investment, our vision, our commitment to transit-oriented development, and affordable housing. The revitalization of Columbia Pike continues with 2 new residential mixed-use projects approved under the award-winning Columbia Pike Form-Based Code. Now, a word or two about the streetcar. You may have heard that we're talking about streetcar, perhaps. We are committed to moving forward with a modern line of a streetcar in the Columbia Pike area. We are making progress, and we need it for capacity. The streetcar is our best transit option for reinventing the Pike. A combination of a modern streetcar with a bus system is needed to handle future capacity. No other option can simply match capacity. The streetcar will help create that Main Street feel that the community wants. Reduces congestion and air pollution. This is very significant. I know many of you, many in our community are environmentalists. They like for us to develop options that are friendly to the environment. Well, the streetcar is supposed to be running on electricity. No pollution, not on petroleum, so this is environmental friendly. And yes, it is affordable in the long term, a transportation investment, a true transportation investment. The Columbia Pike streetcar system is equal to the cost of 1 metro rail station. The example is the one right there in the city of Alexandria. Between $250 and $400 million is how much that one was going to cost. And the good thing is also that, as many of you probably know, we have multiple funding strategies in place. We are increasing the state transportation funding that has become available now. This is a good time also to give credit to the Republican governor, the Republican state legislators, and Democrat state legislators for working on a bipartisan effort to make sure this bill got approved, resulting in transportation funds that are desperately needed by our region and other places around the state. We have some local funding from the commercial property tax as well. This is, again, worth emphasizing. This is a tax that is restricted to transportation projects only. It cannot be used for human services or parks and as much as people would want, and that is a commitment that we are living up to, and we will not change that. Our financial plan is well within the county's self-imposed debt limit. The streetcar will increase also property values and our tax base. This is part of the community's vision for Columbia Pike's future. It is, in fact, the centerpiece of the community plans for the Pike, an aggressive plan to preserve also all of the affordable housing and our diversity in that area. Now, we have voted the board, the County Board of Arlington, and the Board of Supervisors of Fairfax at least twice on this. We voted multiple times. This is a joint project between the County Board and the Board of Supervisors in Fairfax. This is a result of years of work by thousands of stakeholders. In fact, some people dated it back in 1986 when the revitalization of Columbia Pike began. So people have been involved for many years helping craft our plan. So we have had broad community planning efforts and participation for decades. This, again, a dual partnership with our jurisdiction, our sister jurisdiction in Fairfax County. And now, one of the most significant elements for me, as one of my highest priorities, which is affordable housing in the Columbia Pike, our commitment to preserving affordable housing, it's a major part. And we need your help and support. We have a significant population of low and moderate income households, many of whom work in our hospitals, our schools, our stores, our restaurants, small businesses. Our low and moderate wage employees are integral to our success. Providing affordable housing allows them to live close to their work. They can spend more time with their families and less time commuting. This is part of our efforts to assist the region, because if folks are able to live near where they work, they don't have to go to Manassas and commute back and add to the gridlock because they try to get to their place of employment. One of my favorite annual events here in Arlington County is an event that the Chamber, hosts. And sometimes it's held in this hotel. And that's the annual Hospitality Awards. I have to say that I always look forward to that award. It honors the best hospitality workers in Arlington. And these are precisely the very folks we are talking about when we talk about affordable housing. The people who work greeting us in the hotel, the housekeepers who make our beds after we stayed in a hotel. All those people getting recognized is one of the most satisfying experiences I have, but I get a kick out of that event when I see our friend Rich Dow give the description and has some challenging names that he does his best to try to pronounce, which is a reflection of diversity in Arlington, but he does his best, and he does a great job of keeping up, and that's one of my most favorite events here in Arlington. You know, as businesses grow and more businesses choose Arlington as their headquarters, we believe that providing affordable housing for your workers makes good business sense. So to that end, the county has a wide range of financing and planning tools to encourage and incentivize the preservation and the creation of affordable housing. We provide rental assistance to help low-income households rent sales, decent and affordable apartments. To rent safe, decent, and affordable apartments. We also have low-interest loans and planning incentives that allow developers to provide affordable units or funds for affordable housing. And then this is the one time that we need your help in supporting and participating in two major efforts we are working on. And I want to extend an invitation for you, the business community, to do that. The Columbia Pike Area Neighborhood Area Plan was adopted last July. And I have to say, personally, I would not have supported continuing to move forward with this streetcar unless we had made efforts to preserve not just some, but all of the affordable housing in the Pike area. This is an ambitious plan that does that, preserves 100% of our existing affordable housing along the Pike. Folks, this is something to talk about because we are on the cutting edge. There's no other jurisdiction that we know of in the United States that has a modern streetcar line or modern transit system coming in which they have also deliberately set out to protect all of the affordable housing. That is very significant. We have a 30-year comprehensive plan that combines a modern transportation element, the streetcar, with an aggressive affordable housing plan. The plan calls for the preservation of the existing 6,200 market affordable housing units. And we're also looking for a wide range of financing tools to help us achieve our 30-year objective. You may have heard that we received an award. In October of last year, the National Capital Area chapter of the American Planning Association recognized the significance of the Columbia Pike Neighborhood Area Plan by honoring Arlington with the 2012 Benjamin Banneker Award for Outstanding Social Commitment and Community, which recognizes the county's most ambitious long-term planning effort to preserve affordable housing. So the other element to invite you to play a role in is our effort in an affordable housing study. The goal of the study is to have a better understanding of the housing needs and funding priorities that we have in the county. This effort will provide us with a new set of housing principles, goals, targets, strategies, and priorities that will be adopted by the county board as the affordable housing element of Arlington's comprehensive plan. This process has begun under the leadership of a stakeholder group representing many sectors of our community. I hope you will be active in that one as well. We expect that this study will take about 2 to 3 years. Another part that I wanted to touch on today, as part of some of my priorities, I am the honorary co-chair of the 10-year plan to end homelessness of the Leadership Consortium. And I want to report to you that we have made great strides in preventing and ending homelessness. Homelessness is a community issue, and it is no surprise that our successes have come through community partnerships and engagement. I don't know how many of you are familiar with 100,000 homes for 100,000 homeless. It's a campaign around the country. In Virginia, we have taken up 1,000 homes for 1,000 homeless persons. In Arlington, we've taken 100 homes for 100 homeless persons. We have identified the most vulnerable of the vulnerable, 100 of them. And we have already moved 60 of those persons off the street and into stable housing through our 100 Homes initiative. Created a new $1 million public-private partnership to house 100 homes clients. I see my former colleague, Barbara Favola, who's worked really hard on that one. And I want to also mention the other honorary co-chair of that wonderful initiative, and that's the leadership of John Shushan and the Shushan Company. Really are to be thanked for the generosity and their support for our community. We have reduced the number of chronically homeless individuals from 175 to 156. We have secured vouchers to help house homeless veterans. Now, this is important. A lot of times we have veterans who are homeless. You know, we talk about these things, but in Arlington, we are doing something about it. And yet, we must do even more. I really want to thank those of you who are already doing a lot. Many of you are generous with some of our nonprofits, so the Arlington Street People Assistance Network, for example, or our free clinic. Really recognize your generosity with those organizations. John Shushan and I, there's one particular saying that we both embrace. And in the context of our community, to whom much is given, much is expected. And we believe in that. It's one of the things John likes to say. I mentioned that in my remarks as chairman in the beginning of the year. So, you know, we have a real chance to end homelessness and to do more to prevent it from happening in the first place. And I believe if there's one community in the United States that really has a shot of ending homelessness, we are it, Arlington County. With a manageable... The manageable size of our community means that homeless people aren't numbers or statistics. They are, in fact, our neighbors. And the way we have gone about it, we are able to keep people first in temporary homes, temporary shelter. The longer that we keep the person, the longer they stay in stable homes, the less it costs us as a society also. That's a very significant thing also, because if we can keep someone in a home, it costs us less as a society. We save money with substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment, all those things. So with our resources and our caring community, achieving this goal is very much within our grasp. We will gladly make room at the table for any businesses that wish to become more involved in this crucial community effort. Please feel free to contact me if you're interested in assisting in this effort. We welcome your participation. I also cannot end my remarks without saying that I'm proud of our county government and the work that our county staff performs. As a county, we are the envy of many in the nation and in the region. Many of you probably know our county staff. You might even work with them from time to time. And so you know the high caliber of personnel that we have. We are fortunate to have this top quality staff in county government. It's a big part of what makes Arlington great. I always like to say that even though we may be 26 square miles of space all around, we may be geographically small, but we think big. And one of the reasons is that we work together. And together, we are transforming Arlington, focusing, in fact, on the big picture, the things that lie ahead for us. We have come together in the past. We have united, we are resilient, we have reinvented ourselves. And it is simply time to do it again. So I'll end where I started. The state of Arlington County is strong. By all of us coming together, businesses, residents, governments, we can continue to work together and build one of the best communities in the United States today. The heart of Arlington is our community, our inclusion, diversity, mutual respect, and sustainability. So many in our community, including everyone in this room, are working to ensure Arlington continues to be a great place to live, visit, work, and do business, and play too. I'd like to end with an invitation. I hope you will be able to join us at the best place to be on July 4th at Lone Bridge Park. We probably all have different attire. It will be a little toasty warm. But come from 3 to 10 p.m., not only for the best views of the national fireworks, but food, arts, and crafts, face painting, and all sorts of fun activities for the entire family. We're trying to make this a tradition, and in fact, we have some of the best views of the monuments. Any day you can go there and walk in an esplanade in Lone Bridge Park. I want to end simply by thanking you for your commitment, for your innovation, for your ideas, and for your participation. Thank you for helping us move Arlington forward together. Thank you. I understand we may have a question or two, David?
So I'll start with the first question and go right back to the subject of streetcars on Columbia Pike and in Crystal City. You've shared with us some of your thoughts about those plans, but tell us why those plans should or should not be put to some form of a public referendum or a vote. Thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you, David. When we put it in the context of comparing to Metro, for example, when the cost of building Metro at the time was much, much more higher than the cost of building a streetcar today. We were a far more different community then when Metro was being thought of. And our leaders, of course, made a wise decision to put Metro underground, and is one of the biggest reasons why we're recognized around the nation for smart growth policies. And the only way for our community at that time, when Metro was being created, was in fact could possibly be funded through general obligation bonds. But today we are in a different time. We are in a very different financial situation as well. The general obligation funds are okay for schools, for parks, for fire stations, but not for the streetcar. And a transportation capital fund is in fact for the streetcar. So we are developing our plan. We feel that this finance plan that we have with dedicated funding is in fact the way to go, not with a referendum, not with the current capital improvement program does not include a referendum. And then staff, as they do the evaluation of the entire finance package, because they're still being developed, the focus is that there's no need. The fact that capital transportation fund is only for transportation. And so general bonds are okay for schools, parks, and fire stations. We feel it's not for streetcar.
Okay, and we'll probably come back to that Transportation Capital Fund in a moment. I want to ask Michael Foster to join me. He has a question about housing.
Sure.
Thank you, Walter. I think you did a great job covering a lot of accomplishments and a lot of challenges, and I think you did it very well here this morning. You referenced the Stephen Fuller's projections and some of the studies coming out of George Mason University, the Center of Regional Analysis, as well as some projections of growth. And with that growth comes challenges. Right now, the Center of Regional Analysis is projecting growth in jobs, growth in the market, as you've already said, that significantly outpaces the growth in housing across the board. Yeah. And in particular, that affects the affordable and moderate priced housing. And you've addressed some targets for that. I think you've have been working very hard on this, but could you give us a little background on any specifics that to achieve those targets? We've set noble goals, but any specifics on plans to achieve those to address that particular need?
Sure, sure. Well, as was mentioned through the Wall Street Journal article, we're a strong region. We've been holding strong as the economy. We've become very attractive, and people want to come. And we've had numerous examples of studies, Stephen Fuller's authority on those issues, and where we are looking at a lot of the new job growth and housing options will be through whether we have existing urban corridors, especially those that are connected with transportation networks. And some time ago, I participated in a check and reality exercise at the Reagan Building, where we were looking at the region, where would the major growth take place. And in Arlington, by far, was in fact in our established metro corridors and areas where we can have transit. And one of those best examples is also, again, Columbia Pike. And for those who learn initially about density, they think that it maybe is a bad thing. Actually, density is managed well, can be not only help pay for our amenities, it can help the health of the community. And so we have lots of plans specifically in certain areas of the Columbia Pike where we anticipate major housing developments and commercial as well, where we have thousands of jobs forecasted that will come to our region. And we already are a place where people are coming. I mean, there's quite a lot of people already coming to the Columbia Pike area, and it's growing. So, Michael, we know the numbers. We know that, for instance, in 2000, we had about 189,000 residents in Arlington. Today, just yesterday, for example, the Patch, I don't know how many of you read that blog that announced that just within 1 year, we've had a 2% increase in population last year. So we are up to 221,000. So they are coming, and that's why, in large part, you heard the numbers of some of the stuff we have in the pipeline. We have over 4,000 housing units in the pipeline. So we are continuing to plan, and I think we have done also forecasts in areas in Crystal City, which we passed a 40-year plan. How do you put your arms around a 40-year plan? Angie Fox is here, she knows. And so we are anticipating major areas of opportunity in those areas as well. Roslyn is another area where we'll particularly want to grow, and there will be housing options as well. That's where there'll be the tallest building in Virginia for some time until we get another one built down the line in Tyson's Court, I understand, but it's a residential tower of one of those as well. So we have lots of plans for housing units in Arlington. Of all ranges, I must say, that is, you heard me talk a lot about affordable housing. It is my number one stated priority, but of course, we have, that's just one component, but we have market rate units and units that for everyone that's able to afford.
Okay, let's switch back to a budget type issue, and the county operates a number of programs and systems, things like the county operates a bus system. The county's planning to operate, to be a part of an organization that operates a streetcar. The county's going to be operating an aquatic center. In some cases, and every one of these cases, I expect the user fees are not going to be sufficient to cover the operating costs. So how does the county deal with that? Have you quantified what these things will cost and how you plan to pay for the operating costs in excess of what either the fare payers or the users pay to use them?
Sure. In talking about the streetcar, it's important to remember that the streetcar will add to our tax base. And of course, we have a long-range funding plans in place for all major projects, including the two that are mentioned, our aquatics facility. And by the way, both of these have been long in the planning, long in the makings. Lots of people have participated for many years. So as with any large project, the operating expenses for the streetcar and the Long Ridge Park aquatics, health, and fitness facility will be funded through a variety of options, included indeed user fees. For fiscal year 2014 and 2015, we do not anticipate a continued difficult economic environment. And so we do anticipate, let me correct that, we do anticipate a continued difficult economic environment. This means we will have to make difficult choices. So in the future, just as we had this past spring, we may have to cut some services. And looking past fiscal year 2015, we're all hopeful that we will see a rebound in our national and regional economy, and that a rising tide will lift us into a better place. But in the meantime, these are two extremely important projects, and they each represent an investment in our county's future. So as I mentioned earlier, we need the streetcar to handle the capacity that we know is coming to the Columbia Pike area. And the Long Beach Park facility will be the first-rate center for all sorts of fitness and aquatic activities. And Long Beach Park, already offers an excellent outdoor facility, but of course we'll have a funding plan, including for operating costs through use of fees and combination of other elements.
Okay. Let's move on to the $1 million bus stop. It seems clear to everyone now that we can build a bus stop for less than $1 million. So tell us what went wrong with the creation of this prototype, and how should we proceed from here with transit upgrades of this nature?
Sure. There have been some incorrect statements on this recently. This is a good opportunity to share with you about it. For instance, that we learned about it through the media. In fact, Arlington County learned about a year ago. And when the county did, it terminated Metro from working further on the project. So we took action. Arlington took over, and it got done. We have a better record. And just to use an example, in fact, Arlington's building the Roslyn Metro entrance. We're doing it for Metro in order to do it on time and on budget. So I want to say that we all agree that the price tag for the Wall Street Reed Superstop prototype, this is the prototype, is high. And we know that there are questions about the design. The manager and the board agrees that the future of the 23 Superstops needs to be put on hold pending further review. That the review process will ensure that going forward the Superstops are well designed and cost effective. The three-pronged approach includes the community feedback process. We obviously need to get more feedback from the actual users so that it can be designed in a way that people feel will best serve them. We also have a technical design review by an architecture and engineering firm, and of course the performance and financial audit on the design and build of the prototype. This is also a good opportunity to remind folks how this all got started. We were in fact asked to submit an application for funding for this Superstop by the state. And so they weren't getting any applications. We did submit it, and so we got this fund from the state that asked us to build these Superstops. So the manager and the county board are determined to build these stops faster and more cost effectively. But I also want to be clear. The county is committed to investing in the Columbia Pike corridor and to providing quality transportation options that will support the development and the growth that we know is coming into the Pike. And it will meet the growing needs there for transit capacity for years to come. For infrastructure, it's expensive. So, but the hundreds of people who use these Superstops that will be using, and they are using it already now, and will use it later, will benefit from these investments that we are making. And obviously, it needs to be a better job, and so I want to make sure to share those things.
Okay, and let's stay on that subject of transportation expenses, and let's talk about the commercial transportation surtax for a minute. What can you tell us about how much has been how much of this commercial transportation surtax has been collected, and since when did it start? What kind of things is being spent on? And can you give us assurances that this commercial transportation surtax isn't being used for things that other county funds used to pay for, like routine road maintenance and the like?
Sure.
So expand, if you would, on that commercial transportation surtax, or the tax I actually pay.
Sure. Many of you probably in this room help us make the push back in 2007 through the General Assembly, and we worked to pass the approval for us to have the commercial transportation tax. And in 2008, we started it, and it has specific requirements that it be used for transportation purposes only. And that's exactly what is happening. We the funding we are targeting so exclusively for options like the possibility of streetcar. We've leveraged about $37 million from that and use it for the variety of options that we have in the county. So, and this is also an important time to also remind you that one of the things we've also done, we've asked staff to meet with the business leaders to update you on how we're progressing with these funds, what are the funds being used for, to keep you informed about all that hard work that we did together and how we will continue to be utilized for transportation funding. So quite a lot of options, but specifically for transportation.
Let's switch over to a social service type question. How is the county addressing the needs of low-income residents and primarily children through the support of school programs? And are there any changes being made in the budget or in these programs that will improve the administration of this kind of support?
You know, one of the ways we do a lot of the services in Arlington is through our nonprofits. Part of the Arlington community, so of you who work in the nonprofit sector know we provide key services to our residents. Our top-notch schools, and we have this school programs in the human services area. A few examples of some of our partners is that the Northern Virginia Family Services, who provide a wide range of services, the Doorways for Women and Families to help us with a lot of these issues. But we're working with a school, in Arlington, we make sure that provide the resources for schools to help our diverse students. In this past budget, we will make sure to provide the funding that was needed, and in large part, it goes to provide some of those services.
But the artisphere is something that makes the press now and again. It's been reported, I think, using the county's own figures, that essentially the taxpayers pay another $40 per person for everybody who walks in the door, on top of what their user fees cover. So what's the plan for the artisphere, and how does Arlington justify this kind of cost?
That's an interesting example. I wonder how much it costs, or how many people have library cards, and for each person with a library card, how much does that cost? In comparison, all the counties are actually spending a lot more in the arts than we do. I personally support the arts and libraries. Now, community centers, libraries, and the arts facilities are amenities that enrich all of our community, and we recognize them as a necessary investment in our community. Now, the artisphere is an ongoing investment in Arlington's future. It is helping to build our arts and culture-rich creative community. This is a proven and documented economic development strategy that attracts young, educated demographic who are the workforce for the technology and innovation sectors, which directly benefits businesses located in Arlington. One of the things that's difficult to quantify at times, David, is the amount that people that come to the artisphere spend in Rosslyn, in the area, or in Arlington in general when they come to. This is one of the main reasons that the business community continues to invest in the artisphere as an important part of Arlington and an important part of Rosslyn. In fact, the Ross's Business Improvement District, the BID, an organization made up of businesses and building owners in Rosslyn, investing $300,000 annually for the artisphere basic operation. And I also have to say that the program and promotion via additional dollars and marketing partnerships through the bid. But I also want to let you know that we expect the artisphere also, as develop their board and become a self-sustaining organization, that this year we've approved, let them know that for next year, half of their budget will be covered. And that we expect the transition to be made into an entity on its own that will be able to then be self-sustaining. So we believe that it has great potential. It's received quite a lot of great praises in the press, and many of the events we've held there have been highly rated. So the work continues to get around. It takes a while to get a reputation, but the artisphere is on its way.
I heard, I think last Sunday, there was a TED Talk at the Artisphere, and I didn't get to attend, but I've enjoyed pulling up TED Talks and watching them over time. My final question is concerning affordable housing. I know it's a subject that was really one of your key issues, Walter. Back in 2003, the county set the laudable goal of creating or preserving 400 affordable apartments annually. And that's an important goal. But over this past, I think, 11 years or so, we've only hit that target twice. What are we going to do differently? How do you propose to proceed in order to be more successful at hitting that aspirational goal?
It was mentioned that got started in the Sports Commission, but another important element that got me going was a planned demolishing of the apartments in an area of the county called Arna Valley. And at that time, we lost the fight, and as a result of that, a affordable housing task force was formed. And I was asked to be one of the persons who serve in that task force. Al Eisenberg and Jim Allman were the co-chairs. And it was part of our recommendation was, in fact, the aspiration of 400 units of affordable housing units per year. So this has been a number that hasn't necessarily been met every year. But the best thing I can tell you is that it has gone up, and then some years we've done a lot more depending on the project. But one of the ones to highlight again is the Columbia Pike Neighborhoods Plan, because it's an unprecedented effort that will preserve not some, but all of the affordable housing with bonus density included, so that in some areas we were able to take advantage of this. So these are the kind of things that the citizens tell us to approve in order to continue to meet our goals. That I like to say also that with all our challenges, because we are sort of victims of our own success, we're an expensive place to live, and that's part of the challenge. But no community in this region has invested more or worked harder to preserve affordable housing than Arlington County. So we have worked together and invested local, state, and federal funds, and we have committed over 6,500 committable affordable units that will stay affordable to low and medium income Arlingtons for decades. So it's a work in progress. Sometimes we've exceeded the number. One year it was over 700, but we realized that the market is tough, and that's why we continue to have this conversation. And really, I have to say again that I appreciated the very intense conversation we had a number of years ago in order to arise some predictability on our site plan process on what the affordable housing components are. So through all the different angles and working with the nonprofits, we've had a bit of a struggle, but we continue to focus heavily and to try to meet the aspiration of 400 units. And I got to tell you, the part of the housing study that we're doing is to see is that number a realistic number. But remember, we did not have one before that. So we have to come up with some kind of measure of some sort so we can measure ourselves, and that's the number that we had at the time. And personally, I think we probably should do better, and I always look for opportunities where we could take advantage of this.
Thank you. Thank you, Walter. Those are all of my questions, and I thank you very much for all your time and your thoughts and your remarks this morning. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you very much.